In today's video, I'll be revealing why having $3 million at 62 but continuing to work often indicate deeper issues than financial readiness, and what you can do to make more confident retirement decisions. After working with hundreds of financially independent clients who built significant wealth but often still struggle to stop working, I've learned that the barriers aren't always financial. They're often psychological or strategic or just simply lifestyle related. And that's exactly why I'm making this video today, to show you what's really keeping you working despite having more than enough money, and how to address those barriers so that you can achieve the freedom that your money should provide. If you're new to the channel, my name is Ben. I've been a financial advisor focusing on retirement planning for almost 20 years, and I want to help you have an even better retirement. According to the Federal Reserve, having $3 million or more saved for retirement puts you well ahead of 90 to 95% of your peers. On paper, you've absolutely made it, right? A conservative withdrawal rate, maybe 4 or 5%, could generate $120,000 to $150,000 a year, plus Social Security, plus maybe a pension. Well, that's more than most people even earn while they're working. So why are so many people in this situation so hesitant to retire? Well, I think it's due to the fact that wealth doesn't automatically translate into confidence. People with substantial assets still hesitate, either because they don't trust their own math, or they're still listening to that voice in the back of their head that says, once they retire, something terrible is going to happen. And usually that terrible thing is a stock market crash. But the truth is, the market spends more than 1/3 of all trading days within 5% of an all-time high, and almost half the time within 10% of all-time highs. So waiting for that all clear from the stock market to retire is really waiting for a signal that's never going to come. Anxiety about market volatility is really baked into the very foundation of being an investor. It's the bitter pill that we tolerate as investors. It's really the price of admission. And then the reward that we earn for being an investor is that eventually we get to reach financial independence. So even once you're officially retired, the market still is not going to really feel safe, really ever. Over a 30-year retirement, you're going to experience probably 10% corrections, one per year, maybe 5 bear markets, and probably 1 or 2 official big deal stock market crashes. You'll know a stock market crash when it gets a name. And yet, in spite of that fear, and really because of that fear, a balanced 60-40 portfolio has not only survived market volatility, it has thrived almost all the time. If we look back at using a kind of an overly simplified 60-40 portfolio, 60% stocks represented just by the S&P 500, and 40% bonds represented by the U.S. Aggregate Bond Index from Bloomberg, we can see just how remarkably durable 60-40 has been, probably why it's so popular. Now, of course, real-world portfolios can get a little bit more complex than just 2 funds, but this is going to be a great proxy for a balanced portfolio. Probably, again, why 60-40 has remained the most common and most popular foundational structural tool for retirement planning. So let's look at the numbers. From 1995 through 2004, a full 30-year retirement window, a simple 60-40 portfolio has finished in negative territory just 6 times. The ones you would expect: 2000, 2001, 2002, right? .com crisis, 2008, financial crisis, 2018, a crisis I don't remember, and 2022, that was kind of an interest rate fiasco. And even more interesting, half of those declines, 3 out of 6, were barely noticeable. The pullbacks in 2000, 2001, and 2018 were all under 5% annualized. Right? The only years that produced meaningful drawdowns were 2002, which you probably would expect, 2008, and 2022. And in each of those cases, the portfolio fully recovered within a few years, 1 to 3 years on average. That same 30-year stretch, the 60-40 portfolio mix has returned somewhere between 7 and 9% per year on average, depending on which stock and bond index that you're referencing. So that combination of steady growth and quick recoveries explain why the 60-40 approach has remained the cornerstone of basically every retirement plan that you come across. Now, this data is based on performance as reported from Morningstar Direct, Portfolio Visualizer, and other resources from BlackRock and Vanguard. So you can check the resources as well. Now, I can already hear people in the comment section below this video, but Ben, this time it's different. We've got Magnificent 7, we've got the AI bubble, we've got the everything bubble, right? The moment I retire is when this house of cards is all going to come crashing down. And I totally get it. I hear this every cycle. It's a perfectly reasonable fear. And really the comparison everybody's making right now is the .com bubble. So let's take that and treat it seriously. And let's look at exactly what happened the last time we saw extreme valuations in the tech sector and this fear of just a market collapse in general. So during the .com crash, which ran from March of 2000 to October of 2002, the S&P 500 dropped about 37%, while the NASDAQ, which is much more tech-heavy, fell almost 75%. So yeah, stocks got totally obliterated. But the simple 60-40 portfolio, which again is 60% S&P 500 and 40% U.S. bond, Bloomberg bond aggregate, totally different story if we separate those 2 pieces from the tech crisis. In 2000, stocks fell about 9%, but bonds rose 11%. So the total portfolio finished the year down about 1%. In 2001, stocks lost about 12%, bonds gained 8.4%, which would be about a 3.5% loss. In 2002, everything finally capitulated, falling 22% in the stock market, but bonds did what bonds are generally supposed to do in bad markets, and they rose about 10%. That kept our 60-40 decline to about 9% that year. Then, of course, as patient investors, we know that the rebound eventually comes. So 2003, the stock market was up 20%, and 2004 added another 8% to the 60-40 portfolio. So by the middle of 2004, 60-40 had completely recovered to its pre-crash levels, about actually 2 years sooner than the S&P 500 recovered. And that's generally how the system is supposed to work. When stocks are bad, bonds are good. When bonds are bad, stocks are good, right? If we want to use fancy financial advisor speak, we call that inverse correlation or maybe negative correlation. Again, that does not always work perfectly, right? 2022, very recent example of this exception. Both stocks and bonds were down because interest rates spiked quickly, more quickly than we thought. In fact, faster than any time in modern history that I can remember, after being held artificially low during COVID, right? We had kind of this snapback effect and we had to very quickly raise interest rates to try to kill inflation. But even then, we did have tools in our portfolio to keep our income stable, right? Money market funds didn't go down. Short-term treasuries rebounded pretty quickly. And most importantly, systems like retirement income guardrails and retirement runway, well, they did their job in keeping us in the plan. Those guardrails automatically tell us when to reduce withdrawals or turn on income sources like Social Security, while the retirement runway has us covered by setting aside several years of spending in advance, keeping our retirement income completely uninterrupted. So whether it's a dot-com crisis, subprime lending, Magnificent 7 AI, whatever it is, the predominant principle stays the same. Diversification, a little bit of intestinal fortitude, and a disciplined income plan are what keeps the retirees' world sane when markets and headlines make us feel completely insane. So the question really isn't whether you can afford to retire. The question is, why don't you feel ready to retire? After nearly 20 years of working with retirees, I've noticed 3 pretty consistent reasons why people with plenty of money are still working. First is that the house isn't paid off. Many people believe that retirement starts when the mortgage ends. Second, they think that they can't retire until they start Social Security. And third, health insurance. Waiting until Medicare at age 65 just feels like the safer option. So when people talk about these financial milestones, that sounds logical, but they're actually emotional placeholders for, I don't think I'm really quite ready yet. So you're probably curious how I, as a retirement planner, account for these things. How do I build a plan that allows people to retire before every single box is checked? Well, later in the video, I'll show you exactly how we do it. In fact, I'll even give you a version of the tool that we use with clients so you could just model out these cash flows for yourself. So what most people are dealing with at that point really isn't a numbers issue. It's what we would call like a noggin issue. They already have all the money, all the spreadsheets add up, but in your mind, something still feels unsafe. So instead of aiming carefully, they do what we used to call in the military accuracy by volume. That meant if you weren't very confident in your aim, you just send all kinds of rounds downrange and hope one of them hits the target and send the taxpayers the bill. That's what people do in their retirement. They keep working longer. They keep saving more, right? Telling themselves things like, just one more year, just one more market cycle, just one more, year of my salary, just one more $500,000, right? Just one more of everything. But retirement readiness isn't just about stockpiling more ammunition. It's about finally trusting your aim. Once you've built a strategy for how to use the portfolio that you've built, right? All of the income that's going to come out of your portfolio, when you've accounted for when Social Security starts and how Medicare fits in, slowly but surely we can transform that fear into confidence and hopefully optimism. Because what you're dealing with, again, is not a numbers issue, it's a noggin issue, right? A good plan will hopefully solve for both. I'd much rather see you, I've said this in other videos, I'd much rather see you retire 1 year too soon than 5 years too late. The real power of your portfolio isn't just its size, it's the ability to smooth out all the wrinkles in your life's cash flow. The mortgage, Social Security timing, Medicare, partial retirement, pension dates, the list goes on and on and on. A proper Guardrails plan is designed to account for all of it, and I'll demonstrate that for you in a moment. When you have a dynamic plan that adjusts spending and withdrawals as conditions change, you've already solved for the biggest risks that keep people working for just too long. I mentioned earlier numbers issues versus noggins issue, and the final important noggin issue we need to address is the looming identity crisis. So for many high achievers, work isn't just what you do, it's who you are at the core of your person, right? You get validation from colleagues, you get purpose from contribution and collaboration, and your life has structure from your schedule. And when it's gone, sometimes it feels like losing a part of yourself. Now, you might not believe me, but just go in and introduce yourself to a stranger, right? After they ask your name, 99% of the time they're going to ask you, what do you do for a living? Once you retire, that answer can get pretty complicated. The key is to intentionally rebuild your post-work identity. Keep the energy-generating parts of your work, right? The challenge, the collaboration, the learning, and let go of the energy draining parts like deadlines and office politics and Zoom meetings that could have just been an email. If you can figure out a way to make your future bigger than your past, again, easier said than done, but if you can figure that out, I promise you that any retirement or stock market fears will quickly fade away, maybe disappear completely. So now that you understand the numbers issues and the noggin issues, if you need help with your retirement plan, go ahead and click the link in the description, book a call with me, we'll analyze your situation, and we'll develop a plan. So once your noggin is ready, then it is time to translate that portfolio into predictable income. So a $3 million portfolio can cover just about any income needs to satisfy any retirement budget, really, as long as we account for every piece of the retirement plan. So here's what I want to show you that's pretty important. Earlier, we talked about those milestones of having your house paid off. When is my Social Security going to start? When is Medicare going to start, right? When can I get rid of this expensive health insurance? It's really easy to account for your mortgage while you're still paying for it, but it's harder to account for that liability disappearing. Most people look at that first, the next 5 years of mortgage payments and think, I can't retire till those are gone. But it's harder to mentally account for the 25 remaining years once that liability disappears completely. So proper planning means accounting for really both sides of that ledger, the pluses and the minuses. And that's really what our Guardrails framework helps us do. All right, this is our Guardrails tool. We always use Jim and Pam from the office as our guinea pigs here. They've got a $3 million portfolio, as you can see there. And their retirement income goal is $17,000 a month. Now you can see that withdrawal rate is significantly more than the traditional 4% rule, safe withdrawal rule. And it's even more than the traditional sustainable retirement income guardrails. What's tricky about that is we've got very lumpy cash flows. Like we talked about the 62-year-old with $3 million. We've got the mortgage, we've got health insurance, and we've got 2 Social Security checks to plan around. That's very hard to do with just the standalone guardrails, and it's also very hard to do with the 4% rule. If we've got lumpy cash flows, which is kind of everybody, it's just a very difficult thing to do. So Jim and Pam have their $3 million here. Their retirement goal is $17,000. If we don't properly account for lumpy cash flows, it really looks like we're $22,000 short of where we need to be to make this plan work. At a minimum, $22,000 short. And what that looks like over here is our guardrails. Green zone is the safe zone. Yellow is where we should have a raise, and red is where we should cut back. And you can see we're right on the line where we'd want to cut back. In fact, we're $22,000 short, which means we should reduce our income. We've got more to think about than that because we have lumpy cash flows. So right now we're $22,000 short of where we need to be, at least $22,000 short. But Jim and Pam in this example are 62. They're going to turn on Medicare in 3 years, and it's going to save them $1,000 a month. That's a lumpy cash flow we should account for. And again, you can download this tool for yourself. Now, if that's the only piece of lumpy cash flow we can account for, well, now we're $52,000 for the good. Now, again, that's not really a lot of wiggle room. If the market just is uncooperative for any amount of time, we're going to have to reduce our spending. So that's probably not where clients would want to be the most confident. So let's look at the next lumpy cash flow. Can we account for the house being paid off? Well, they think they're going to pay off the house in 4 years, and it's going to save them $2,500 a month. So our surplus goes from $52,000 to $500,000. Hey, now we're talking. Now we're actually right in the middle of our green spending zone. We're doing well. Now, why is that? Well, that's because our portfolio rate went from a 6.63% withdrawal rate, a little aggressive. But once we subtract these two lumpy cash flows, now we're down to 5.59%, which is a little bit more in line with our traditional 5.4% on the retirement income guardrails. That if that sounds aggressive, according to the 4% rule, remember that Bill Bangan, we interviewed him on our podcast a while back. He has since revised the 4% rule to something closer to the 5% rule. So it sounds more aggressive, but if you were really plugged into some retirement income podcasts and books, that number has increased quite a bit over the last few years. Some other lumpy cash flows to account for. Pam is going to collect her Social Security at her full retirement age. We're going to see that 67. So our $500,000 surplus becomes a $800,000 surplus. We can check that over here. We're actually getting to the point where we might want to increase our spending. And then, of course, Jim is going to turn on Social Security at 7 years from now. And that we'd actually have a $1.5 million surplus at that point. And again, why is that surplus growing? Well, because when we turned on Pam's Social Security, we went from a 5.6% withdrawal rate to a 4.71% withdrawal rate. Again, right at that 4% safe withdrawal rule, modified with the new research, of course. And then we turn on this additional income. Well, now we're down to like 3.37 And we're 7 years into retirement. We're likely through that sort of sequence of returns risk when it's kind of the most dangerous. In addition to being, where our retirement might already be a third over at that point, we've got 2 Social Security benefits turned on. We're both on Medicare and our home is paid off. So if the market got particularly uncooperative, we could reduce our spending probably quite a bit more just because of those things. And we're kind of accounting for that here. So this actually says we've got about $1.5 million in portfolio surplus, and we could probably increase our spending because we're going to be, we're kind of blowing through the top of our chart. So with just accounting for 4 pretty basic cash flows, we've gone from, I don't think you have enough to retire. You should probably reduce your retirement by several $1,000s a month. We've gone from that to, hey, you actually have about $1.5 million in surplus. Not today, but in 7 years from now at a 6% rate of return. Again, you can, in this sheet, you could, account for that any way that you like. But that's a 4% withdrawal rate once we account for all those lumpy cash flows. So go ahead and check out this tool for yourself. I hope you love it. So that's our Guardrails tool. That's how we turn a static number into a living plan that kind of flex with your life. And of course, you don't have to take my word for it. You can download that tool for free and run the numbers for yourself. All right, now that you understand why having a $3 million portfolio at 62 and still continuing to work often points to barriers beyond just the financial, where you can start addressing the psychological, strategic, and lifestyle factors that are going to help you unlock true freedom. If you'd like help putting all these pieces together, go ahead and click the link in the description, book some time with me, and we'll look at your plan and we'll optimize what you've got going for you. If you're not quite ready for that, go ahead and click on the link in the description, download that Guardrails tool, and start to work on those cash flows for yourself. So until next time, this is Benjamin Brandt. I hope this video helped to make your retirement even better, and I'll see you on the next one.